Hello my little beauties, it's David Connolly here, the web developer extraordinaire. I need to raise this chair up a bit. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about GitHub stars and why they are so important, especially in the case of the Trongate Framework. You know, a few months ago, I said, long before most of you had even heard of the Trongate Framework, I said, this is going to be a top 10 PHP framework. And somebody on YouTube came along and said, well, how are you going to measure that? And I said, I don't know, but we'll figure it out when we get there. And I have figured it out. It turns out that for better or for worse, and it's definitely not perfect, but for better or for worse, GitHub stars is how the success or the popularity of a framework is measured. Now, unfortunately, Trongate is at a huge disadvantage because of this. The reason why Trongate is at a disadvantage is because unlike all of those other frameworks, Trongate does not require people to go to GitHub, to have GitHub accounts, to use the command line interface, to download from GitHub, or any of that stuff. The way that the Trongate framework works is you get a desktop app and you say, give me a new app, and it grabs everything from GitHub and it sets it all up, but you don't even know that that's going on in the background. And so, unlike all of those other frameworks where it's like, here it is on GitHub, here it is on GitHub, well, Trongate is on GitHub, but most people won't even know it's there because everything gets handled through this desktop app. That means that when people use the Trongate desktop app, Trongate will not get the credit. The amount of downloads won't increase. You won't have an opportunity to thumbs it up or leave a comment or anything. You'll just use an app and all of that other stuff will happen in the background. This has never happened before. Now, I've had a look at the top 10 PHP list. The top 10 most popular frameworks. Now, there are, of course, slight differences, but you can look this up. There's no shortage of articles. Sometimes the lists are a little bit different. But what has become clear are two things. GitHub stars, and I know it's not perfect, but GitHub stars are the metric by which frameworks' success or failure is being measured. And the second thing I've noticed is that at the moment, you need about 1,400 GitHub stars to have a top 10 PHP framework. If Trongate can get 1,400 GitHub stars, and I'm sure that number's gone up by the time you watch this video, but if we can get in that ballpark, we will, by every reasonable though deeply flawed definition, we will have a top 10 PHP framework. Now, I said in the live stream, and I said privately, if Trongate can get 100 GitHub stars before launch, if we can get 100 GitHub stars, we will have a top 10 PHP framework within 12 months of launch. This is my prediction. Because when you think about it, to get 100 GitHub stars before you have even launched, and all you need to do is do that another 13 times and you're in there, that would be staggering. And right now, I can tell you that we've got 78 stars at the moment. Now, please do not mistake Trongate stars with liking me or YouTube likes or Facebook or something like that. It's nothing like that. If Trongate gets enough GitHub stars, they cannot ignore us. They simply cannot. And every web development magazine, every poll, every article writer, every recruitment agency, every website award ceremony, everything, they're going to have to mention us. And if they have to mention us, they have to take on board the fact that a sizable amount of web developers are all saying, F you and your self-appointed governing bodies, your rewrite culture, your over-engineering, and your stupid, pointless features that nobody needs. If Trongate becomes a top 10 PHP framework, it will be the biggest kick in the balls for the self-appointed code police in the history of this whole industry. Forget about PHP. Think about it. All of those self-appointed governing bodies, we can name them. We know who they are, right? Those tossers who parade about on stage and so proudly brag about how they set the exam questions for this course and then this other certification course, but they don't actually do any web development. We can give them a big kick in the balls and we can say, fuck you, asshole, because we disagree. We disagree with your fucking bullshit. There you go. Now forgive my language here, and forgive me if I appear to be somewhat less graceful than usual. But web development really matters. Web development is the vehicle that lets poor people who live in the middle of a shotgun shack have an opportunity to learn some stuff and provide for their families. Web development doesn't care if you're left wing, right wing, or no wing. And web development is something that's worth keeping alive and keeping the doors open. And instead of focusing on bullying people with bullshit, features that people don't need. Unit test migration, you're not doing it right. Oh, another new version every 2 weeks. We should be focusing on innovation. And I'm telling you, if the Trongate Framework becomes a top 10 framework, it's going to herald the biggest revolution, certainly in the history of PHP, probably in the history of the whole industry. And you know something? We learned, did we not, what they are like when people show up with an alternative opinion. I found out all too well just these last few days when I saw them, those anonymous leeches hanging about in their little forums. Do you know, they even pretended that there was security flaws with the framework, saying you can't use this, it has concrete security flaws. I went into that lion's den and I addressed those bogus challenges. Where's my apology? Because it was all bullshit. We know what we're up against. These people will stop at nothing to ruin this industry, to have it taken over by middle managers. You're going to be reporting to some school leaver, some agile manager, or some DevOps clown. And as that happens, the doors of web development will close. And as the doors of web development close, people will have less of an opportunity to earn. And they'll say, fuck it, maybe I'll become a jihadist after all. You know? And maybe the rest of us can all argue about whether or not we should build a wall. Well, I don't want to build a wall. I just want to give people an opportunity to earn. And I want to keep the doors of web development open. All of the top 10 frameworks have capitulated to the self-appointed code police, the middle managers, and the bullshit aficionados. Every one of them, one by one, even CodeIgniter. The only thing it has in common with CodeIgniter now is the name. And Trongate is the last chance. It's the only framework anywhere that says, you know what? We're going to take the advice of Steve Jobs and the gang, and we are going to think different. And to those who disagree with me, to those who fundamentally think I've got it wrong, let me tell you something. There's one thing that we cannot argue about. We cannot argue about benchmarks, productivity, and robustness. If you have a framework that's being rewritten every 6 months or reversioned, if it makes you feel better, with those backwards breaking changes, well, by definition, it's not reliable. These are things that are not a matter of opinion. And on every metric that counts, Trongate wins. Folks, this Christmas, I have already told my family I cannot accept any presents. Told my mum last night, don't buy me anything because I cannot buy you anything. Told it to everyone in my inner circle, my lady wonder wench, all they get from me is Merry Christmas because I've got 400 quid to last me from now until who knows when. I've been doing this for the best part of 3 years now. And if this doesn't work, I'm gone. And if Trongate goes, take it from me. There's nobody else going to do this. I know what's involved. I'm not doing it again. This has almost killed me. And this is your last chance to say something meaningful before you die. Now, I know that stars and likes and all of that bullshit are usually beneath us. But if we can get enough stars, they cannot ignore us. And to those enemies, those haters, do you know what's going to happen if Trongate becomes a top 10 framework? Same thing that happened in the phone industry when the iPhone came out. Those other Me Too frameworks are going to have to go back to the drawing board, rethink everything, and they will come back stronger. I've no doubt about it. And when all is said and done, there's going to be two huge winners here. The winners are going to be PHP, because suddenly everybody will be focusing on innovation instead of bullshit. And the other winners are going to be you, just ordinary developers. There is nothing more important than the GitHub stars as far as the Trongate framework goes. And you know something? We've already won. As I speak to you, I've exposed YouTube to about 3% of our ecosystem, and already they are freaking out. They're losing it. Posting all malicious, bogus claims about security and everything, all debunked, of course. They are absolutely freaking out in a way that has never happened before, because they know that change is in the air. And this is a tipping point. Right now is the moment when we decide, as a community, what kind of web development industry do you want to have? Do you want to have one that is closed to people who cannot afford the annual $240 certification? Of course, that's just one of the certifications you need, right? Do you want that kind of web development? Or do you want a web development that focuses on innovation? Folks, I don't want to be the leader here. You're not going to see me selling certificates or telling you what to do. Half the time, all I ever do is say that something's bullshit. And guess what? Here's a big news flash. You don't need to agree with me. Maybe some of you love unit tests and migrations and all of that stuff that I'm not into. Well, guess what? You're going to be able to go to the module market and just get that stuff at the click of a button. Never have somebody like me tell you how you should code and do your job, and never have some self-appointed governing body bully you with their stupid engineering decisions. Template engines for a templating engine. We're all still waiting to hear somebody defend that. And speaking of defense, where's my apology? Where's my apology from the rats who maliciously posted those things saying, oh, it's got security flaws and all of that? They never even took the time to look at the framework. If Trongate becomes a top 10 PHP framework, it's going to be shocking. It's going to be absolutely shocking and game-changing. And I have to say, you, unless you're one of a very small handful of people, you will be the beneficiary. And you're going to have this served to you on a plate. Because I'm assuming that you did not have to take 3 years out of your life to build this. I'm assuming that you're probably going to exchange some Christmas presents or whatever you're into and have a reasonable life, you know. I'm assuming that you have ate something today. I mean, I'm sitting here, I don't know, been up for about 12 hours. I haven't ate anything. I'm assuming that you sleep more than 3 hours per night. You see, folks, here's the good news. The work has been done. The battle has already been won. It's a foregone conclusion. On every metric that counts, Trongate wins. All of that work has been done. And you just have to claim the victory. And the way that you do that is by giving this framework some stars on GitHub. Even if you hate Trongate, you should be giving this thing some stars on GitHub, because this is going to shake up the whole industry in a way that you've never seen before. And in the end, all of us are going to win. Thank you for listening, and please give the Trongate framework a star on GitHub.